This is Chip Walters, and you're listening to Rutherford County's Blue Raider station.
Yeah, we got them. MTSU Sports on WGNS, AM, FM, online. We're the Good Neighbor Network, FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, audio and video streaming at wgnsradio.com. This is the Roundtable. A look at the news, views, politics, and people that are shaping Rutherford County.
Welcome in. It's a Wednesday here on the Roundtable on WGNS. Chip Walters with you from Exit Realty, Bob Lamb and Associates, and the Blue Raider Network. And Brian Barrett, who has been on Zebra Watch, is our producer. And a couple of things before we get started. Brad Willis of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame is our guest. But number one, last week, we had Bree Smith on, and yesterday the law that she helped push through the legislature with her testimony about deep fakes and sextortion that we spent that whole hour talking about. Governor Lee signed that bill yesterday. It is now law.
Awesome.
And so it was great to see that come to a conclusion. Also now to what is on the mind of everyone, the zebra Ed, which I'm not sure how to. I heard you all talking. Must be Mr. Ed that they have come with that. But last night, tooling around, number one, CBS News had a 2-minute story on it on their 24/7 channel yesterday, wow. And also, and I've got the evidence here. The BBC has now started carrying information on the zebra. So, any new breaking news this morning?
I have not heard any breaking news about Ed, and it is amazing what has captivated this community.
The memes are unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
So Middle had a new running back, Ed Zabrowski. And he was in full uniform, so
yeah, come fall when Lightning makes his first appearance, if he has stripes on, or a striped uniform or something.
Lightning's new cousin here in town, exactly. Well, of course, when news breaks, Brian fixes it. So if there's any breaking zebra news, they will have it here. All right, Brad Willis of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame is our guest, and you live here in town now, and have you been caught up in zebra mania as well?
Yeah, it's not really on my end of town. I keep kind of waiting for him to show up. But, yeah, I mean,
keep checking your Ring cameras.
I've had so many laughs at people who have taken, Chat GPT or whatever, and they've added him at Toots, or they've added him at all these different locations that are iconic to Murfreesboro. What a story. I mean, how do you ever run that thing down? Hopefully in a way that's, he's safe and he's found, but,
I mean, I guess the only thing is, in the official word is, don't try to catch him, but try to have him confined. If you find him in a paddock or somewhere that's fenced in, try to keep him in that area, and then let the people who know how to handle a zebra, I guess, come get him. But it's certainly been something else. It's crazy. Brad makes an annual appearance. We talk about the class that will be inducted into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, as well as their special honorees. And this year, I'm proud to tell you that I've got a good friend who's going to be one of the honorees, and we'll talk about all that as we get through. But you just got back from England.
I did.
I did. And so what did you see? Was
oh my goodness,
Big Ben Parliament, Big Ben
Parliament a couple times. Yeah, a lot of roundabouts. Yeah, it's a beautiful area, beautiful country.
Did you get out away from the city?
We did. So we've got friends that live about 45 minutes outside of downtown London, and in an area called Surrey. And so we got to check out that area. It's really cool, really walkable. I mean, it's their neighborhood was kind of so intimate. Their street numbers are single numbers.
Right.
It's like I live at 9 so and so street. And so got to go into London, got to see Windsor Castle, We think there was a member of the royal family there that day. We were kind of being told while we were there that while a member of the royal family's there, they fly the royal standard. And then when they leave, they take it down and they put up the Union Jack. And so we actually saw that happen while we were there. We're going to assume it was the king, but we don't know. It's possible. So we got to see that. It's one of the official residences of the royal family. We went down to the English Channel one day and spent some time in Brighton, which is a seaside town, and it's just really, really kind of a cool atmosphere.
That's a big seaport, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a really cool area. It had a very real touristy vibe. Got to have some fish and chips, and so great place to do it. And spent a couple days in London, just kind of seeing the sights and it's so funny. You walk into a building and they say, this was built in 1200.
I was about to say that. I've not been to England, but a couple of years ago, went to Italy, and you drive and there's something that was built before Christ, right there, and the closest thing to that is I was on a trip to West Point for a football game a few years ago, and driving through these little New England towns in upstate or central New York, and here you are going into Farthington, whatever the name might be,
right?
Established 1728. And we think that's old,
right?
But but that's not old.
It's not.
With comparatively what you've seen in the last month or so.
It was really cool. I mean, just some of the stories about Tower of London and how that that was originally set up, and just we had a great what do they call them? Beefeater.
Okay.
The yeomen who have to spend a certain amount of time in the the military, and then they come back and they give tours of the space. And we had a really great one who kind of gave us the tour and the whole story about how they would do the public beheadings on the hill and all these kinds of things. I mean, it was just a lot of history there that you just kind of like take for granted. But it was a great trip. I'm glad to be back, but it was a nice week spent over there.
Yeah, and so any other trips you got planned?
No, now it's buckle down time.
Yeah, it is.
It's we're going to go from now until our banquet on July 19th, and it's just going to be nonstop, and then we'll look up at that point and it'll be football season.
That's right.
I mean, it's crazy. So
as soon as that's over, you got about a week before or 10 days before teams
crazy.
Report and all that.
It gets crazy real fast.
Well, the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame and has been around since the mid 60s,
1966,
but really has upped its game. I kind of look back when Bridgestone Arena was built, and it finally had a dedicated space.
Yep.
Kind of got going, and you've now been with 7 years, close to it?
Yeah, 6 years. Yeah,
6 years, and Brad has really risen the profile and done a great job with the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, and as he mentioned, their induction ceremony will be coming up on July 19th at the Omni Hotel in Nashville, and it's one of those that if you are a native Tennessean, it's really a fun night because you walk through and you say, oh, look over there, there's whoever, and everywhere you turn, professional or college athletics, people are all there and support it. And that's one of the things I think that's really cool is you get a groundswell of support from one end of the state to the other. And for an entity like this to be successful, you have to have that. And you're very, very fortunate. And you also have, in particular, have great partners in Nashville with Bridgestone Arena and what will be coming up in your new space at Nissan Stadium.
Yeah, you're so spot on. I mean, it really is a statewide effort, a statewide organization. We've got great members on our board of directors from all parts of the state, all different kinds of industry, and really kind of what you've seen, post-COVID is a real group effort between, those individuals and the Department of Tourist Development. Mark Ezell is their commissioner, and his entire team really kind of gets behind us. And the Omni is a great venue. We've been able to host, groups as big as 1,300 people. And so we're excited about, this year's group. And to your point, our goal is to put on an event that if you're a sports fan in the state of Tennessee, you're right. You're going to be there and you're going to look around and go, oh, look, there's so-and-so. It's a kind of a who's who in terms of sports. And you don't even have to have someone being inducted that you specifically are there to support. You're going to see a lot of familiar names and a lot of familiar faces if you're part of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame banquet.
Yeah. And to me, obviously, if you have someone you're connected to, that's makes it very special. This year, you're going to have and we'll go into them, but like Shea Weber, Shamiqua Holtz-Claw, some huge names. You had the Peyton Mannings, those kind of things. But those stories, they're great. Mm-hmm. But I look down this list, and there's some people who I have never heard of, but I promise you their stories are going to be unbelievable. There was a guy, and I don't know why I keep remembering this guy. He was the national field trial champion down in Grand Junction, Tennessee, near Savannah, down by the Tennessee River. But he was like a 10-time national field trial champion, and he was like the world class guy with bird dogs,
right?
And so these kind of stories, and you don't pick and choose and say, oh well, that's that's not big enough. But when you are that big a fish in whatever your pond is and are world class at it, you guys are going to take a serious look at it.
Absolutely. It's a great. So the way the process works is you have to be nominated,
right?
And so then our board kind of goes through that.
Anybody can nominate.
And anybody, you're right. You can nominate yourself if you so chose. But teammates, former coaches, former players. A lot of times we get nominations from family members who say, "Hey, you should really take a look at at this person." And those are and sometimes, to your point, those are the stories that we tell that you kind of come away from the evening and you're like, "Wow, that's the most impactful," because you've seen a Peyton Manning, or you've seen a Shea Weber, or what have you. But then you hear some of these stories about people who are maybe from some of us are smaller communities, or maybe just not as high profile a story, and you understand that to reach the pinnacle of their field, it took just as much work as a Peyton Manning or a Shea Weber. It's just that it might not have gone as noticed because they're in a different sport. So when you end up with someone who's a champion marksman or things like that you might not see on the the cover of the sports page, their story still kind of rings true.
And the other part to that is, and I use Peyton Manning as an example. How many times has he been honored somewhere?
Sure.
And he appreciates them all. But that person who has toiled in anonymity and to be honored on a stage like the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame, I have seen tears flow at your banquets from not only the inductees, but in particular, you see their families spot them in the audience when they're on stage, and they're bursting with pride, and that finally, that friend or family member has gotten they've gotten the recognition that has needed to come their way, and that has to make you feel good. It said, yeah, we're getting this right.
Absolutely.
When something like that happens.
Well, and I love the stories when someone who's been out of athletics for a generation even, mm-hmm. and we honor them, and their grandchildren are there, and they're seeing the highlights of their grandma or grandpa on the screen, and they're going, wow, I knew that they were a big deal, but gosh, I never knew that grandma could ball, So, and it's just one of these moments where
near white,
right. You see these families kind of come together, and a lot of times it's one more great chance to just kind of celebrate somebody, what they mean, not just to their family, but oftentimes to their community. You see so many of these individuals who accomplish things in the world of athletics, who come back into their communities and pour into them.
You can go into any high school gym in the state, and it may be the Brad Willis gym, and there's got to be a story behind that somewhere.
Absolutely.
And that's what those are the stories that you guys continue to tell.
That's the goal.
So yeah. You're going to be. We talked about, touched on that. You're going to be moving physical locations. You're about 2 years from right now.
Yeah.
And kind of give folks an idea. of what the space at the new Nissan Stadium is going to be like?
We aim for it to be a family-friendly experience, and it's going to be more than just a museum. It's going, one of the things that we had at the Bridgestone Arena location, we had a 7,200 square foot exhibit, and a lot of it was what you would call static exhibits. It was glass cases with jerseys and all those kinds of things, and so many of our visitors were under the age of 13. With field trips. And, yes. And it was like, and they'd come in, and what the first thing they'd ask is, where can I throw a ball? Where can I shoot a hoop? Where can I, shoot a hockey puck? Those kinds of things. And our long-term goal for that space was, let's have more experiential type things. But we knew that at some point we were probably going to be moving. We're going to be doing something else. It's hard to invest that kind of capital into something that you just immediately pack up and break down. So we're going into this new space at the new Nissan Stadium with a blank slate and with experience in mind. So when you come to the new museum when it opens in 2027, there's going to be something for your kids to do. You're going to come in and you're going to say, I'm Chip and I'm a big fan of the Blue Raiders. And so when you go into a certain area, the lights are going to turn, silver and blue, and you're going to see the football stadium, and you're going to be able to experience it. We're going to customize the visit to your fandom to a large degree. We're also working on ways that we can partner with the Tennessee Titans. It's going to be their home stadium, and so we feel like we're going to have a great section where we're going to be able to kind of tell that story. And then, obviously the big part is we've got over 540 inductees over 60 years, and we're going to tell their stories. And so a lot of that's going to be through this mix of things you can touch and see and feel, and then things that you can do and things that, you can experience and kind of walk away from. Like I always made the example of, what if you could run the 100-meter dash against Wilma Rudolph, right? Or something to that.
Right.
And so a child goes home that day, and mom and dad says, well, what'd you learn at your museum visit? And said, I learned all about Wilma Rudolph. Well, in a way that perhaps a trophy in a case might not do the same thing. So our goal is to really become what, I think that Nashville can appreciate, which is a family-friendly attraction. When you bring your family to Nashville, or, again, if you're just a huge sports fan, it's something you can go in, you can have fun, you can come away with a couple of keepsakes, and hopefully, an experience that you wouldn't mind repeating.
Yep. So you got 7,200 square feet now.
Yes.
So do you know how big a space you're going to have at the stadium?
But between our space and the Titan space, which will kind of combine, I think it'll end up being somewhere in the neighborhood of about 14,000 square feet.
So about double the amount now.
Yeah.
But between now and then, the Bridgestone Arena still open?
No, so that's we've kind of sunset that space.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's we can't. I can't say how appreciative we've been to the Predators organization. Like I said, we'd been kicking the can on a lease for probably the better part of 10 years, and they were absolutely more gracious than they should have been in terms of giving us space for as long as they did. I don't know if you've seen the renovation plans for Bridgestone Arena.
Just a little. I really want to be able to look at and dive into it a little more, but
it's going to be really something, and it's going to start right about the time that Nissan Stadium's being completed. They're going to really kind of redo that whole area. Part of that is that they're kind of positioning their building to make sure that they can do all the plans that they want to do. They told us years in advance, hey, be thinking about your future. And so, one of the reasons that we ended up, in the new Nissan Stadium was, when that the horizon is a change, it's really kind of an evolution for our organization, and it's an evolution for their organization. It just so happened that they kind of went in different ways. So we're, we've sunset that space. Right now you can interact with our kiosks. We have one at Nissan Stadium. We have one at FedEx Forum in Memphis. We're getting ready to put one in at Bridgestone Arena. And so we're trying to tell the story through, those interactives, while we're kind of moving toward a more concrete physical space.
All right. Otherwise, stuff is in storage right now.
It's in storage, yeah. It's quite the collection.
All right, we're going to take a time out. Brad Willis is our guest today on the Roundtable from the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. We'll run through the class of 2025 during our next segment, so stick with us here on WGNS. This is Chip Walters, and I'm honored to be your 2024 MTAR Realtor of the Year. I'm with Exit Realty Bob Lamb and Associates, and like many of you, I've seen the real estate market shift and change. People often ask, Chip, what's really going on? Well, that's a great question, and I believe in answering with solid, factual data. So let's cut through some of the noise. I invite you to reach out. Let's have a conversation about your real estate goals and the current market trends in your neighborhood. You can find all my contact information at choosechip.net.
Middle Point Landfill's Mike Klassen.
Between our property and the county landfill property, there are 1,000 contiguous acres that doesn't exist anywhere else in this county. And what an opportunity to do something big there. And we as Republic, as part of this long-term 50-year vision, are saying we will pay for and work with the county on building any number of recycling programs.
The answer's here.
We are ready to do something big there.
Middle Point Landfill.
Hi, this is Trevor from Bell Jewelers. Last year I proposed with a Simon G ring. My cousin Taylor just got engaged and her ring is from Simon G as well. My wedding band is from Simon G. Simon G has very good quality pieces and they come in all 18 karat gold. So it just says something when we're selling it, but we also buy it as well. Come into Bell Jewelers, find the Simon G ring just for you. Come on by Bell Jewelers, 821 Northwest Broad Street, across from Toots.
We're visiting with Jennifer Sanchez, manager of Steered Straight 2 Furniture and Thrift at 1007 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard.
You're not just walking into just a big warehouse. You're walking into rooms. We've got a media room. We've got a boutique room. We've got a vintage room, a furniture area, kitchen, all that.
Steered Straight 2 Furniture and Thrift.
Every day you go in there, I promise you it's changing.
Steered Straight 2 Furniture and Thrift, 1007 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Online at steeredstraightthriftstore.org.
We're at Adams Place talking with John Hood. What advice do you have for someone considering a move?
Well, I would encourage them to check out Adams Place. Come and personally see the facilities, talk to the personnel, and get a true feel of Adams Place.
I'm Terry Deal, Rutherford County's premier retirement community with all 5 levels of care. Call me for more information about Adams Place, located at 1927 Memorial Boulevard, across from Walmart.
Good Neighbor Events is brought to you by America Pest Control, Old National Bank, and the law offices of John Day.
This is a paid legal ad.
Hi, this is John Day of the Law Offices of John Day. I've lived and worked as a lawyer in Middle Tennessee for over 30 years, and to me, every single day has been an honor. That's why our firm is so involved with community programs like bicycle helmet giveaways and our Safe Ride Home program. At the law offices of John Day, we're not just looking to make donations. We want to make a difference in the community we hold so dear. And if you're ever injured, know that we are here for you too. June is busting out all over with WGNS Good Neighbor events. The 16th annual MTSU Alumni Summer College. There are still a few openings available. Register online or phone 615-898-2922. That's MTSU's 16th Annual Alumni Summer College, June 25th through the 27th. Put this on your calendar. The Taste of Rutherford, the annual fundraiser for Main Street, Murfreesboro, will be Saturday, July the 19th. 6 until 9 in the evening. Don't miss A Taste of Rutherford. Get with Main Street Murfreesboro for more information. Oh, and this is the 33rd Annual Secret Garden Weekend. For information about the Secret Garden events, contact the Discovery Center at Murphy Spring. That's this weekend. Oh, would you like to volunteer at Greenhouse Ministries? They have an orientation meeting to show you what's available. And that's every Thursday morning at 10 at Greenhouse Ministries at 307 South Academy Street. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Rutherford weather.
We'll see sunny skies here for this afternoon with a high around 90 degrees. Tonight, partly cloudy, low of 68. Thursday, slight chance for storms, late, a high of 89. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS.
Currently, it's 71.
Broadcasting from the Middle Tennessee Electric Studios, MTE serves members with more than just electricity. Their community outreach team works with schools, parents, and students to provide engaging and unique learning experiences. MTE serving to make life better since 1936.
FM 1019, FM 100.5, WGNSradio.com. The Good Neighbor Network. This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
Welcome in. Welcome back to the Roundtable here on this Wednesday. Chip Walters here along with Brad Willis of the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame and their induction banquet for the class of 2025 coming up July 19th at the Omni Hotel in Nashville, and we'll give you all the specifics on how you can find out if you're interested in going to that banquet, which is a fun night. We'll tell you how to do all that. But looking at the class of 2025, I've got a list here that is in alphabetical order. We'll kind of go through these and kind of give me a thumbnail. Tony Allen.
Oh, gosh. I mean, just epitomized the grit and grind era of the Memphis Grizzlies during their run.
At the Grindhouse.
At the Grindhouse. They call him the Grind Father. He epitomized it so well. Oklahoma State guy, drafted by the Boston Celtics, ended up playing the chunk of his career with the Memphis Grizzlies. They just retired his number 9.
Here's a guy that I used to go watch play in Nashville at Stripling Gym or over at McQuitty when they were playing Lipscomb. But Joe Bailing played basketball at Belmont, and he's going in.
All-time leading scorer at Belmont. Yeah. I mean, that's quite the accomplishment. I had the opportunity of meeting him back when we announced him. Just super guy. Excited for him. He's teaching now, so he's
and he in like Williamson County, maybe?
I believe that's right. Yeah. So Joe Bailing, big it's a heavy basketball class. That's one thing that it just kind of turned out that way.
You know, Joe was in that era of when like Philip Hutchison was at Lipscomb, Joe Bailing was at Belmont, and you know, and they like back and forth were like the leading scorer in the country. You know, and that was a lot of fun going to watch those games back in those Cracker Box gyms before they built their new arenas. Bob Brown,
ETSU basketball star, grew up in Chattanooga, played at ETSU, played under Sonny Smith right at the end, and ended up playing internationally as well. I believe to this day still leads all time for field goal percentage for ETSU.
Yep, a lot of folks don't remember Sonny coached at East Tennessee State,
right.
And his hometown is Roan Mountain.
That's right,
Tennessee. Yeah,
that's right.
Speaking of the basketball theme, Tamika Catchings, Lady Vol, who was terrific.
Absolutely, WNBA champion, WNBA All-Star. She's a Naismith Hall of Famer, which is just absolutely incredible. One of the three Meeks. We'll get to another one here shortly. Just a great time, a great player during her time in Knoxville under Pat Summitt.
What was the phrase, the meek shall inherit the earth, or something like that, that they used to, that was kind of a marketing phrase they used.
That's right.
Philip Clark.
Coach Clark from Germantown and Bartlett, legendary high school baseball coach. Also coached the under-18 Team USA. Just lost him back in March. Unfortunately, he'd been battling cancer, and so was really excited and happy that we got to talk to him before he passed, and he was excited that he was being honored. His family's going to be there in July.
It was great that he knew it.
He did, and we were very happy about that.
Yeah, Stephen Gostkowski.
Yeah, Stephen. A few Titans fans remember Stephen for his season here in 2020. Probably best known as the New England Patriots kicker. Won several Super Bowls with New England, but got his start with the Memphis Tigers. Played baseball and football with Memphis, and so he's the all-time leading scorer for the Memphis Tigers.
I did not realize that.
I believe he surpassed Joe Allison, and so we're really excited that Stephen's part of this.
Leading scorer in Memphis football.
Yeah.
Wow.
A lot of kicks.
A lot of kicks. Deion Grant.
Deion Grant, All-American safety from the University of Tennessee. Actually just saw yesterday where he's on the College Football Hall of Fame ballot as a player. So excited for his opportunity to be honored even further. Part of that national championship team in 1998.
Yep. Speaking of the Meeks, Shamiqua Holtzclaw.
Shamiqua Holtzclaw. They're during a 3 straight national championship run with Pat Summitt, #1 overall draft pick in the WNBA. Just really excited that she's part of this group.
Yeah. Jack Jenkins.
Jack Jenkins is a legacy inductee. He played in the early 40s at Vanderbilt.
And a legacy typically is a posthumous.
He is. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I believe that Mr. Jenkins passed in like 1982. So he's been gone. Candace Story Lee, who's on our board, made a nomination for Jack. Jack, just a really instrumental figure in the early days of Vanderbilt football. He was drafted by Washington, left to go be in the war. Had to go to World War II, and then came back and played before coaching a little bit at Vanderbilt.
So, the stories of those guys that put off their professional careers during World War II. I mean, can you imagine?
No.
If you had something like that, and
the closest we've come in the last 30 years, Pat Tillman.
Or David Robinson.
David Robinson, yeah, another great example.
So, but that's a really good story. The pride of Ray County High School, Andy Kelly.
That's right.
And I remember when Andy Kelly for a little while. Number one, I saw him play in the state high school playoffs, but obviously played at Tennessee, and then ended up he was for a short period of time was the quarterback of the Nashville Cats.
That's right. Yes, and he's a guy that prepped here, went to college here, played professionally here, still living in Dayton. He and his family are in Dayton.
I saw the video that you all did. You barged in his office.
He's got an insurance. He's got an insurance agency. We went and surprised him.
Yeah. Larry Keenan, Memphis basketball.
Yeah, a couple of folks from that Memphis basketball team that went.
Was he on the team? Was he a teammate of Larry Finch?
Yes. So he went on the team that went to the championship against UCLA. And another teammate actually we'll talk about later, and Larry, a big part of that success.
Yeah. Derek Mason, and this is Derrick.
That's right.
Sorry, Coach Mason, but this one is for the Titans receiver.
Yeah, Coach Mason's time will come. Derek, really one of those figures that when you think about the success of the Titans in the early 2000s, just really epitomized that. A guy who initially, was just kind of labeled as a kick returner, ended up becoming an all-time leading receiver, and just the magic that he and Steve McNair had together during McNair's MVP season in 2003 just really kind of set the bar, and so glad that Derek's part of this group.
Yep. One of my longtime friends, Doug Matthews.
Doug's a great story. I mean, and a lot of people know Doug from what he does now, and he's been in Middle Tennessee forever. Doug played collegiately in junior college in Oklahoma, and then transferred to Vanderbilt. His senior season, moved to tailback and was the SEC's leading rusher, and then went on to a great coaching career before getting into the media, and so
Coach obviously he coached at Tennessee obviously for a long time with Coach Majors, but also he coached at Vandy under Watson Brown.
That's right, defensive coordinator.
Yeah, he was there. You had at the end of Watson's career at Vanderbilt. You had Doug was the defensive coordinator, and Steve Sloan came back.
That's right.
And was the offensive coordinator, which was
what a staff.
That was fine. I was around there at that point doing on the radio with Charlie Mack and Roger May. I was the sideline person, so I was it was a real treat. To get to be around, Doug for sure, and Watson has been a good friend for a long time. But that was the only little period of time to be around Steve Sloan, and what a class guy he was. Great basketball coach, George Pitts, who really made his bones at Science Hill in Johnson City, winning numerous state championships.
In Johnson City at Science Hill, also at Brentwood Academy.
Right.
Went to King College for a while. He's now at Providence Academy in Johnson City. He's the athletics director there. And, seven state championships across 2 different schools. Really, really happy for him and his family.
Yeah, you talk about a guy who is locked in during a game. George Pitts is that.
Yes, indeed.
Ronnie Robinson is next.
Yeah, teammate with Larry Keenan. Ronnie, unfortunately, has passed. His family is very excited about the honor. He was the rebounder of that team. He was the muscle. And it's really cool when we have an opportunity that Larry and Ronnie both kind of came up in the same year, teammates on that special team at Memphis State at the time. So we're glad that he's part of this group.
Ron Slay will be going in, and there's you're limiting the amount of time they get to talk, right? So Slay,
yes, might need it. Oh yeah, Slay's.
At Pearl Cone, he was terrific.
Another guy who it's great to be able to tell the stories of people who are born and raised here. Obviously, a lot of times you tell great stories, like Derek Mason, who came, here from Michigan State, or like a Tony Allen we mentioned earlier, came from Oklahoma State. But when you talk about Ron, Pearl Cone, played at Tennessee, was SEC Player of the Year. Just a really, really cool story.
And when you think about who his high school teammates were, that was a really good basketball team.
Absolutely,
that they had. Priscilla Gary Sweeney,
Memphis native, went on to really kind of set the stage at Kansas State in basketball. Played at Shelby State in junior college. And she's currently a member of the Army Corps of Engineers. I talked to her a while back when all the wildfires were happening out in Los Angeles. She was deployed out there to kind of fix that. So she's a great story in addition to her athletic accomplishments.
Elston Turner, terrific mid-'80s player at Ole Miss in basketball.
Ole Miss player, Ole Miss legend. Went to Austin East High School. Was one of the famed Road Runners.
I didn't realize he went to Austin East.
He did, and he's now an assistant coach with the Minnesota Timberwolves, who just made the Western Conference Finals. So he's coming off a really fun season for those guys.
Good deal. If you're a hockey fan, you know who Shea Weber is.
The captain had the slap shot you did not want to be in front of. He's already a Hockey Hall of Famer. He's been put into the Predators Golden Hall, and so we're excited that he's going into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame.
And rounding out the class of inductees is Chris Woodruff.
Yes, great tennis coach, great tennis player. To start at the University of Tennessee, is now the current tennis coach, runs a great program. Got to see them here. You were there, actually, when they played the Blue Raiders, and got to see Coach Woodruff, and he runs a tight ship. It's really interesting.
We ran into each other out there.
We did. And it's really interesting to kind of see, how former players are able to kind of relate the game to their students and to their players, and so it's fun to see that come together.
Well, there you see it, and there you hear it. The class of 2025, and not only does it represent the length and breadth of the state, but also the length and breadth of the sports community across the state of Tennessee. They have some special honorees. We're going to talk about those, and also other things going on with Brad when we continue. Brad Willis, our guest from the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. Back with more here on the Roundtable on the Big G, WGNS.
Progressive knows when you own a boat or RV, it's like you're automatically on vacation, even if you're actually a marriage counselor in the middle of couples therapy. But in your mind, you're camping in Acadia, puttering around Frenchman Bay. Your boat and RV are both protected. You're lobster drenched in butter and... Uh-oh, did your clients just notice you weren't listening? Quick, do the thing where you just repeat back exactly what they said, but as a question. They bought it. Now back to Maine, earning an automatic discount bundling your boat or RV with your home or auto. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language, Babbel makes it easy. In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel will help you start having conversations in as little as 3 weeks. Words and phrases you'll actually use. So when someone asks,
"How's your French going?"
you can say,
Babbel facilite grandement l'apprentissage d'une nouvelle langue.
Now save up to 50% on your Babbel subscription at Babbel.com. That's BABBEL.com.
Insurance should be simple, not complicated. That's why at Rayburn Insurance, Agent Rick Hull cuts through the jargon and helps you understand your options clearly. He's committed to finding the right coverage that fits your unique needs and budget. Their team has been a trusted partner in the community since 1973. Ready to make insurance easy? Get with Rick Hall at Rayburn Insurance Agency. He's ready to help you get the protection you deserve.
This is Kim Dunaway from Sunshine Nutrition Center. You hear me on Monday mornings at 7:20 talking about how to lead a healthier lifestyle. We carry supplements, personal care, and grocery items at both our Murfreesboro and Smyrna locations, family owned and operated since 1989.
This is Pastor Nikki Ajapong, the lead pastor of Holy Hill Chapel in Murfreesboro on Northwest Broad Street.
Here are sermons on WGNS every Sunday night at 7:30.
Our sermons are loaded with the keys of the kingdom. If you don't have the keys, you'll be stranded.
Visit Holy Hill Chapel, tn.org, to hear our podcast.
Our congregation is made up of a variety of nationalities, people from Africa, people from the Caribbean. We have people from Asia, Europe. Here in America, we have people who grew up in Murfreesboro, people who grew up in Chicago. When we had our international service this year, we had 24 nationalities. Everyday life, never take it for granted. You wake up, you get food to eat. You know, somebody doesn't have it. Don't take it for granted. You can learn more about us by visiting our website, holyhillchapeltn.org.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna, and worldwide at wgnsradio.com.
Welcome back into the Roundtable on this Wednesday morning. Don't forget, if you miss any of this and cannot resist hearing the words of Brad Willis later again, you can find it on the podcast section of wgnsradio.com. Now, we just went through the entire class. It's a 20-member class, which is a little bigger than usual, but there is a reason for that.
It is. So it's our 60th class, and it's one of those things that we've been talking about for a while. You know, it's when you start considering all the different sports and all the different, the 3 grand divisions and all the different things, you can kind of get into a spot where you get a little bit backlogged. You know, there's some names where you're like, wow, it's like, how do we ever get them on? And so we talked about 3 years ago about, how do we ever do like a bigger class? And we said, well, we got a 60th class coming up. And it's kind of one of those things you say in the moment and you think, well, we'll never do that. And then when it came time this year, everybody remembered.
And for you, the person who's putting it on, you've got to figure out, okay, you've got 1,200 people in a ballroom, right. And you've got a 20-member class, and how do we make this show move on? And that's all. And the thing is, you because I deal with the Blue Raider Hall of Fame, and you want to move the thing along, but you also do not want to take away from their moment.
That's the best way of putting it.
Yeah.
You certainly are respectful to the moment, and you want to make sure that they come away feeling like that they've been appropriately honored.
Yeah. Now, in addition to the inductees, there are several special honorees each year, one of being which I think is one of the highest honors you could get, and that was Tennessean of the Year, presented by the Tennessee Lottery. And if you live in this state and do not know the name Butch Wilmore right now, after what he has gone through over the last year, the astronaut who's from Mount Juliet, went to, I think, Madison High School back in the day, and went to Tennessee Tech and was on the International Space Station for, almost a year?
And was only supposed to be there for a little over a week.
That's right.
You know, the thing that I think that's the part that a lot of people forget, because he ended up in space so much longer than he should have. the whole trip was a bit of a gamble because they're flying this ship that's never been flown before. Part of the reason that they ended up stranded was because there were some concerns about the safety of it. And when the time came to, volunteer who's going to fly this to space, it was Butch Wilmore. And he understood the risks, and he understood the ramifications. And so, as he's spending all this time on the International Space Station, his name is one that came up several times as someone who really kind of represents that volunteer state spirit, as someone who is willing to go above and beyond. And so we're really excited to have him.
And, I'm going to give props to a tech guy, but, he is, I know his first cousin is a really good friend of mine. But the thing is, I think Butch probably kept America calm about this situation by the way that he handled it, and was a great example.
Absolutely, from start to finish.
Yeah,
just such a graceful guy, and really thrilled that we're going to get to honor him.
And by the way, I've been trying to get him as a guest on this show, and I'm still working on that.
We'll push for that.
Maybe you can help me with that.
We'll push for that.
Lifetime Achievement Award goes to Rick Barnes, Tennessee basketball. Middle went up there, gave him a scare last year, but Coach Barnes had a great team, and is an absolute prince of a guy.
And I think that's a huge part of it. When you talk to anybody about their dealings with Coach Barnes, they'll tell you it's hard to find a better man.
You never hear anybody say, "Well, that Rick Barnes screwed me over."
Right.
You never hear that.
Absolutely.
So.
And his run of success, both when he was at Texas and now at the University of Tennessee, really just goes to show what impact he can have on a program and what impact he has on the men and that are playing for him.
Yep, exactly. And next up, Professional Athlete of the Year. Reed Blankenship played at Middle, is now a Super Bowl champion. Here's a guy, undrafted free agent, who started his rookie year. Reed is, you talk about a great kid out of Limestone County, Alabama, who came here and had just a great career and has just continued. He's never flinched. It's going to the NFL,
and we're really excited for him. I mean,
is Reed going to be able to come
champion.
in?
We're working to try to see if that. Unfortunately, where our calendar falls, a lot of camps are getting ready to open up the next day. So we're trying to see kind of what the timeline is on that. But you're right, a guy who just absolutely is relentless,
blue collar
kid, and Super Bowl champ.
Yep, exactly. Female Amateur Team of the Year, Union University women's basketball. They won the national championship.
Yeah, just a great run for them. We always like when we're able to kind of tell the stories of championship winning teams. That certainly weighs into the process when we talk about yearly honorees.
Yep. Male Amateur Teams of the Year. Tennessee baseball, they ended up winning the national championship, and they're tied with Chattanooga men's basketball, and who won the NIT this year,
that's right.
Which one of the all-time great games in Murphy Center started that run where they ended up beating Middle 109-106 or
what a game.
Whatever it was in triple overtime to get that run started. But they caught lightning in a bottle and got rolling, and probably obviously that win here gave them the opportunity, but it also kind of lit their fire again.
And a lot of that, this tournament time, it's about who's getting hot at the right time, and they certainly rode that wave all the way to the NIT championship.
Yep. Female Amateur Athlete of the Year, Olivia Reeves, an Olympic weightlifter out of Chattanooga.
That's right. Yeah.
Was she in France?
She was.
Okay,
yeah,
Paris.
She won a gold medal in Paris. She goes to UTC, and so we're excited to be able to honor her. It's not every day that we have a homegrown Olympic gold medalist, and so we do like to try to honor them when we have that chance.
Absolutely. And the Male Amateur Athlete of the Year, another guy who I got to see play last year, Seth Hennigan, who was the quarterback at the University of Memphis last year. And the Tigers, they had a really good team, 10-3 last year. And Seth Hennigan, they were going to go as he went.
Yes.
and he just, I mean, he was, you talk about a guy who was in charge, and everything revolved around him with what Memphis did in football last year.
4-year starter.
Yeah.
And started every game. And by the time he's in his senior season, you can just tell. To your point, he's in charge. He's in control. He kind of has a feel for everything. And they kind of came and went as he went. And they had a great year.
Yeah. So there it is. Those are your inductees and your special honorees. And again, that's all coming up July 19th at the Omni Hotel. Tickets, tables, still available?
Still available.
You want to rub elbows
we've got
with
the big room, so
with the hoi polloi of athletics across the state.
That's right.
This is your opportunity to do it.
You can go to our website, tshf.net. You can check out, there's a link there. You can go to the ticketing site and find out all the information. If your company wants to get involved, buy a table, put a congratulatory ad. We do all those kinds of things. And we've got a television special, which is going to air the weekend of July the 12th across the state. And so we're going to tell the story of the class of 2025 and then celebrate them on the 19th.
Yep. The necessity was the mother of invention for the television special because in 2020, right after you got the job, as executive director, and in 2021 when you didn't have banquets, you figure, okay, we've got to figure out how to keep this thing going, and you came up with a TV special. You ended up airing it in all markets across the state.
We did.
And now once you got it started, you can't get rid of it.
We can't get rid of it.
and it's really well done. And our buddy Mike Keith MCs. He is the host of the TV show, and of course he MCs this banquet as well. And it's been, I think it's been really, really well received, the TV show part of it. And are you aware? Does any other statewide Sports Hall of Fame do a TV show like this?
Not that I'm aware of. I remember the first year we kind of looked around, and a lot of people were essentially televising a Zoom meeting because that's how they did, things. And when we decided to do the special, we had great partners in Nashville, Memphis, and Johnson City, and Chattanooga, Knoxville, and Jackson. And when we reached out to them and said, hey, we want to do this, it was like, we want to do this and do like a full-fledged television special. And so the first year was born out of necessity, and ever since it's been like, how can we do it better, and how can we really kind of use it as a mechanism to kind of just tell the story of not just the individuals but our organization, so that people know about our mission.
Yeah. And so again, now since you don't have the physical space in Bridgestone Arena, where are you going to shoot this year's?
We actually shot it a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
In the old Scripps building in Knoxville.
Okay.
So I actually had driven past that a handful of times, never even noticed that
it's
it was
on the
there.
left going into town, right?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
It's right there at 140, and Apex Bank owns that building now, and so the entire lower floor is a television network headquarters that's completely empty. And so it's like walking into, like a dystopian universe where a TV network used to be, but there's still a working studio downstairs. And so
Wasn't there some like shopping channels or things that were based out of there?
Food Network,
HGTV.
Yep.
Well, I know Jewelry TV is still, based in Knoxville, JTV, and a young lady who was a cheerleader here, she's now a host on, and she's, peddling jewelry every day. But, one of the other things that people might not know that you do for, I don't know how many years, but when Mike Keith was the voice of the Titans, you've been his spotter for close to 25 years.
Yeah.
And now that Mike has taken the new position as the heir to Bob Kessling's empire as the voice of the Vols at Tennessee, the whole little mafia group of Mike's Mafia, you, Philip Noel, and you all are you're gonna continue to work with Mike and be his spotter up there.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting to get to see him do what we've all kind of felt like he's been born to do for a long time. He's got personal connections to the University of Tennessee, so it'll be great to see him get to do what he does. And we've got this small little family where we've worked together for, quarter century. And so it'll be nice to be able to kind of continue to get to work with each other and spend our weekends together.
Well, everybody wants to know, did it surprise you at all when that move happened?
Little bit. I mean, exciting for him. Always kind of wondered if the day would come. His son, his youngest, is now living out in Los Angeles and a writing assistant on a sitcom, which is
Mike's son.
Yeah, Matthew is.
Wow.
He's working on the Neighborhood, which is on CBS. And he actually co-wrote an episode that aired a few weeks ago. So once Matthew was out of the house, you kind of wondered, like, well, is there anything to tie Mike to Middle Tennessee anymore? And so when the call came and Bob announced his retirement, it was one of those things where you thought, well, maybe it happens. And then,
well, and also, there are a lot of us in that circle of business. It was like, okay, when Bob was okay, if Mike wants this, that's the natural fit.
Yeah.
And so that's all going to work out. Now, you last year with the Titans, you wore a different pair of tennis shoes every week.
I did.
And posted them online. Are you going to wear a different pair of shoes this year during the college football season?
I don't have that many pairs of shoes that would match. I had a lot of shoes with blue in them. I don't have that many shoes. So yeah, I may have to abandon. that.
I'm not surprised.
My closet's getting full. I got to get rid of some anyway.
Absolutely. Brad, thanks so much for coming by. It's always a fun hour, and this is like third year that you've come by and done this, and I really appreciate it.
Anytime. Appreciate you having me.
All right, that is going to be it for today. Don't forget, if you missed any of this, you can find it on the podcast section of wgnsradio.com. Brian standing by with the latest zebra information, so stick around here all day on the Big G, WGNS.